Are your ulcerative colitis symptoms proving difficult to manage? Tremfya guselkumab can help you manage the cycle of UC symptoms. At 1 year, many patients taking Tremfya achieved clinical remission, and some patients also achieved endoscopic remission. Individual results may vary. Tremfya is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with moderately to severely active ulcerative colitis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Ask your doctor if Tremfya can help you manage the cycle of UC symptoms. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more, or visit tremfyaradio.com.
The Portland Trailblazers are struggling once again. Scoot Henderson is shining. Anthony Simons is struggling. And I guess Deni Avdija is kind of playing pretty well. So we're going to talk about him just for Craig. And we're also going to dive into the Blazers' play-in chances, which are flickering at best. Welcome to the Blazer Focus Podcast. I am Aaron Fentress of the Oregonian and Oregon Live. And I'm joined by Craig Birnbach. Craig, my man, your Knicks came to town. You didn't show up like the coward that you are. And Mikal Bridges sinks a three at the buzzer in overtime to give New York you need to stop. A 114-113 win that was devastating for the Blazers. One, they were playing so well against a really good team, again, missing their best player, just like Cleveland was missing Donovan Mitchell, but still, and it went overtime, just like that game. But if the Blazers win that game, Craig, they're 4 games back in the play-in. And now they stayed at 5 because Dallas and also Phoenix lost, but San Antonio beat Dallas, which means San Antonio moved ahead of the Blazers, who are now 13th. Anyway, let's just dive right into the first topic, because I know you're just dying to just talk a little mess about your Knicks and talk about how they ruined the Blazers and ruined my fantasies. Are the Blazers done? Is it time to focus on the lottery and forget this pipe dream of making the play-in?
I told you they were done last time. So now they're done. Like, I never believed. Let's go back. Play the tape. Craig said it was over. And now it's double over. And let me just say this. For me, last night was perfect, because I think it's better for the Blazers to lose. And obviously, it's better for the Knicks to win, unless you really think that you'd rather play Cleveland in round 2, which I don't know why people would think that. But, you know, really great game. Upside on players that we'll get to for the Blazers. And the Knicks win in, you know, just the most exciting way you can win a basketball game, after the Knicks tried to give the game to the Blazers multiple times. Like, the Knicks won that game like 3 times. And then just, why would you give up an end one, like, at that point? And also, Josh Hart, you can't move on the baseline. Like, the game was over multiple times. And how many kick balls that might have not have been kick balls were called. I'm just saying. And I will say, great game. Very exciting. More lead changes than any game in the NBA this year.
Was it a season record?
Yep.
Season high?
Yep.
42?
42. And the one bad part was the Blazers didn't play the correct lineup for the last shot and or guard it well. So that was disappointing. But I mean, obviously, I wanted the Knicks.
Give me your lineup take. It came up a little bit, and Chauncey said he.
Yeah, well, Clean can't be in. I mean, there's just no point in having him in there. He admitted it. He said he thought there'd be a rebound, but there's 3.7 seconds left. That's just not that doesn't make sense. And obviously, Kumani, you know, he had fouled out, so that changes things up. But you know, he got a clean look. You shouldn't let him get it. You know. It was too easy. The inbounds was too easy. Perfect there. I mean, a great shot, but it was a catch and shoot, you know, base. You know what I mean? Like, he just ran across, did what, it was too easy. But he made a tough shot. And, you know, Chauncey's the one who said, like, I had him clinging in, but what do you need a 7'1" guy in there for the rebound for? You don't. If that happens, if you're worried about the ricochet and there being any time on the clock, sure, there could be a tip-in maybe with 3.7 left, but the odds of there being a second shot are very little. I mean, the ball went in, the buzzer went off, so we know there wasn't going to be the opportunity for any second shot was going to be nothing. So that's just weird for me. I mean, because that's the kind of stuff you're supposed to know, like what our lineup is, and there shouldn't be any second guessing. You do less than 5 on the clock on defense. How many times? Many. But I will say this: that was we're going to talk about Scoots. I'm just going to go there But do you want to talk about how there's
no?
the dream still alive?
We'll talk about Scoot later. Let's talk about the team and where they are. Talk about
your dream still being alive.
So you think they're done?
Yeah, I thought they were done last time. I don't understand. Like you're like what? Like you're asking me like, so you think they're done again? Like so, Craig. Before they lost 5 in a row, you thought they were done. Now, the last time we talked, and they were in better shape, you thought they were done, and now they're in worse shape. Do you still think they're done? Yes, I think they're done. You got to win games. There's not enough time, man. There's not enough time.
Can't lose? Are you saying that you can't lose 5 in a row in the middle of a play-in chase in mid-March? Is that what you're telling me?
I mean,
look, I'm with you. I've been with you. When they got to 2.5, I kind of thought, they got shot to catch Sacramento, right? But then we saw Minnesota, Denver, LA coming up, right? And they lost those 4. Then they go on the road, they beat a bunch of bad teams, but you knew what was coming, dude, right? You knew Cleveland. I'm looking at this right now. Cleveland, got Philly, right? Cleveland, Boston, OKC, Detroit, Golden State, the Knicks. You looked at those 6 games out of 7 with the Philly in there, and it was very easy to say that, yeah, they'll be lucky to win 1, maybe 2, but they're probably going to lose all of them. And they did, and that kills you. Because now, had they played a softer schedule or pulled off a few of those wins, they'd be right in it. But they can't beat winning teams. They haven't beaten one since Sacramento on February 6th. And losing Ayton has killed them. And then Deni in and out of the lineup has not helped them. But I'm going to say this, though. You got Toronto and Washington. You're chasing Dallas. And then, the Suns, I guess, too. But Suns haven't even caught Dallas yet. Dallas is in free fall. Right. So the good thing is that you're still only 5 back even after losing 6 or 7.
But you got 15 left.
I know, but here's all I'm saying. If you beat Toronto and Washington coming up, right? You should win those 2 at home. If you don't win both of those 2, I'll be with you and say, okay, now. And again, I'm not saying they're going to do it. I'm just saying it's not over. They win those 2. Dallas has at Houston, which is an L. Then they host Philly, which is a toss-up, their next 2 games. So if they lose both of them, and then they got at Indiana, they got Detroit. So they got some tough. They got at Knicks coming up, at Orlando, at Chicago later, Atlanta. They got 2 Clippers. They got the Lakers. So they got some tough games too. But just in those right there, they could be down to 3, right? But then the problem is, if you're Portland, you still, like we talked about, have to beat winning teams, because after Toronto and Washington, you have at home Memphis, Denver, Boston, Cleveland.
Right. And then at Sacramento, at New York.
Right, at New York, at Atlanta. Then you got at Toronto, which you should win. Then you got at the Bulls, who are playing well. They got hopes. Right. It's not pretty. But I'm just saying that.
And you got to go 10-5 minimum. And with every break in the world.
Dallas goes what?
Right, that's minimum.
4-11, I think.
So you have to make up 5 games of 15.
That 4-11 is possible for Dallas. I'd be surprised if they don't go 4-11. They're not good. They're bad.
Right, but do you think you're going to go 10-5? The question is
Portland. Right. I don't. But I'm saying they're not out of it.
And
they've
also,
lost some really. What if they'd pull off Cleveland and pull off last night? We'd be talking a different story. So I'm saying they might have a couple of those types of games in them coming up where they pull off games we don't expect them to pull off, and they beat the teams they're supposed to beat. Dallas keeps losing, and all of a sudden, boom, you're 2 back of Dallas and Phoenix, right? So Phoenix is up and down. And then if you're 2 back with 6-7 games to go, then we're having a different conversation, right?
Yeah. But they didn't.
So I know. My point is, I'm not saying they're going to do it. I'm just saying they're not out of it. There's still hope. Okay, for those of you out there who just want to hold on to hope, see, Mike Richmond was talking. He looked at me crazy when I said they're still in it. I said, look, I'm not saying they're not going to. I'm not saying they're going to do it. I'm just saying I need them to still be in it. To push me through to the finish line.
That's
of the
fine.
season.
Like, I'll give it to you.
Right?
You are correct. They are not eliminated,
4 years, bro. It's not even about the season. It's been a long. We can trace my misery all the way back to Dame's core muscle surgery and then CJ's collapsing lung.
That's it,
right? Yeah. Ever since then, it's been just God. Although Dame came back to 1 year, and there's a couple months where it was fun, right? So, but anyway, you get. But I will say,
then this will say, you are right, Aaron. They are not eliminated.
They're mathematically alive.
They are not eliminated. So, but I can't put water on your hope dream and feel good about it. So what I'm going to say is the water I'm pouring on your hope dream is actually water on a small plant that has a chance to grow into a playing game.
Win the next two games. Win the next two games. Hope Dallas, they're going to lose to Houston. Hope they lose to Philly. Now you're 3 back from Dallas.
Okay? I think Philly wants to lose now.
Well, yeah. So hopefully you're 3 back. That's the goal right now. You're 3 back from Dallas going into that gauntlet. If you do that, you're still at least in it. Are you going to win enough of those tough games? Probably not. But at least you're still within striking distance.
But keep the dream alive.
Let's shift this though, because the argument could be made and could have been made the entire season that, of course, the better plan is to lose and get more ping pong balls. So their 5-game losing streak, has put them 9th now in lottery odds, whereas they were 11-12, I think, a minute ago, or a week or so ago. And they're only a game ahead of 8th Chicago, which is going to be in the play-in in the East. So their players are playing to win. They are just like Blazers players are. They're playing to win in Chicago. So you could easily fall behind them. You're not, I don't think, going to fall behind Toronto, which is 7th. So 8th is the best you can do. What's the difference in odds? You just looked at it, right? So what is the difference?
For the top spot, it's a difference between of 1.5%, 4.5 at 9, 6 at 8. For 2, it's 4.8%. In 9, 6.3 at 8, 9 for 3 is 5.2. So it's 1.5% for each one.
Okay. So I mean, it's something, but it's not. To me, it's not enough to say it's time to pull the plug and
no, you already blew it.
Yeah, and try and lose the rest of the way. I think you let the team play it out, and of course that means Grant needs to come back. To me, Ayton needs to come back. There's no new news on Ayton, who should be his 4 weeks are up. He should be being reevaluated. Had Ayton not got injured, I think they pull off a few more of these wins. I think they're definitely more likely to make the play-in had Ayton not gotten injured. So are they going to bring him back or not? Who knows? They could decide we're not going to bring him back. Grant, at this point, I mean, he's so up and down and so mediocre that playing him helps the tank. I love Grant, but he's not playing good basketball. He had a good game the other night, but he's just struggling.
I think you can't, but you can't. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't play Grant the rest of the season. It just doesn't make any sense. But at the same time, I'm like, you might have Grant on your team next year. So what am I doing? That's the whole problem with this formula, is that unless you dump, you just somehow dump that salary and get beat up on it. He's on the team.
It's a disaster for everyone, including him, that he's had such a bad season. His worst season since he became a viable, rotational player in the NBA and starter. And so his trade value is at an all-time low, and he's got 3 years, $105 million left on his contract.
And he just turned 31.
Right, exactly. So he's 31, not 26, 27. So yeah, it's bad all around. I can't. there's so many different things you can do in the NBA, right? So the only really good thing about still having that contract could be, let's say we've talked about this before, a star becomes available and you got to match salaries, right? And throw picks in there. Well, Grant helps you match salaries. Grant and either Grant alone or Grant and someone else. Now, someone has to be willing to take down on that contract, a rebuilding team. If you're rebuilding, you got to hit a salary floor anyway, right? So why not have that guy on your books for a few years who's going to, help you lose and help you meet the salary floor? But you're doing that if you're another team because the Blazers are going to give you a bunch of picks. And so the Blazers are going to...
Who fits that?
Dude, you never know. You never. That's the thing about the NBA. Look what happened at the trade deadline. Dude, look at that. Look what happened. It was crazy the amount of players flying around. Look at the Knicks have gone out and gotten OG, Bridges, and Towns.
Right, but they gave up. The Towns trade was all-star for all-star.
I know, but Minnesota
Bridges was. They didn't even have to send a contract back. They just sent a bunch of picks.
Right. They sent picks. So my point is, it depends on what a team wants. So what I'm saying is that
I just don't see a lot of teams getting 3 years of Grant. That's a long time to wait with that rock.
So according to the NBA world, the most coveted future picks out there, right, that are owned by others, not just your own pick, but someone else owns them, are the Bucks picks. They allegedly have a ton of value. The definitely post Dame, but could be post Giannis first in 29, I think it is, and then the two swaps they have in 28 and 30, I believe. So those are valuable. So I'm just saying that if I'm a team, I'm like, okay, I had the star player, it's over, it's time to move on. Okay, you're going to give me Jeremy Grant. I have to meet a salary floor anyway. Jeremy Grant's not going to help me win a ton of games as the lead guy or the best guy, and I get the Bucks first and some swaps ahead in the future. I'm going to be interested in that. And I think a lot of teams would be if they're in that position. Because, again, you have to meet a salary floor. You have to pay somebody something, which is one of the reasons why the Blazers signed Grant.
I'm just saying, when I look at it, I can't believe that the more likely scenario is that Jeremy Grant's on the roster next year. And
I kind of feel like this might be one more year, and then maybe you can move him. But
that makes it difficult to see what you do because I don't want him playing. I want to see what I saw last night. I want to see Deni. I want to see Kamara. I want to see Sharp. I want to see Scoot. Look, I don't want to see Simons playing, really. It just doesn't make sense. Not for the Blazers. It just doesn't fit. They don't play well. There's no mix of these players right now where Simons and Scoot coexist on a good team. There's no world that I see where Tumani, Deni, Sharp exist with Grant. I just don't see it. Like, Grant's not going to be – you don't pay a guy that much money to play 12 minutes a game, and that's kind of what the scenario is if you move on and say, well, he doesn't start. I mean, so it's difficult. And, I just don't see why you got Scoot, Simons, and Sharp. You can't – it's obvious who goes. Simons has to go. It's just that simple math. And you're not going to trade Simons, for necessarily nothing, but his contract's not horrible. You know what I mean? Like, he's a guy that could be a six man, a scoring guy, and his contract's not ridiculous, and he's the right age. His age isn't ridiculous. So he's movable, but you're not going to trade Scoot now when you're still waiting on the possibility of an upside. But I'm not worried now that Simon's going to go somewhere and be an all-NBA player. I don't have that worry anymore. And I don't think anyone does. 2-3 years ago, there was like, oh, he could be an all-star. There's a potential. He got the ability to score so, many ways that he could be an all-star. I know, not anymore. Like, it's okay to move on and roll the dice with Scoot because you picked him third overall and you can't play two point guards. And we know that. And when Scoot's in the game with Simons, it doesn't work. I mean, Scoot's shown to be a pretty good spot-up shooter, so it hasn't been horrific at times, but that doesn't make him a difference maker. So that's the frustrating part when you watch a game like that last night when Simons sat for a long time. He still played 31 minutes, but he sat for a long time when the comeback happened and when Scoot was killing it. And then you bring him in, and you're like, well, he's going to shoot, right? He's going to shoot. He did. He missed by like 30 feet. But why, but why wouldn't he? That's what he's supposed to be, the leader, the guy. Same thing happens if Grant's in the game. At one point in time, Lamar Hurd said on the broadcast, like, this is interesting because they don't really have a veteran guy out there right now in this clutch. And I'm like, yeah, well, good. Because those veteran guys are not the future of this team if they're going to be good. So that's the frustrating part, is that's what I want to see. And it's not always going to be pretty. And not everything works. Like, Sharp was non-existent in the fourth quarter when Scoot was stepping up. But that's okay because Scoot went crazy. So
Sharp had a lot of offensive rebounds, though. I'll give him credit for that. He kept a lot of possessions alive. It was crazy.
True.
Okay, let me go back to Ant. Okay, so Ant definitely started off poorly and has been up and down, but going into last night, over the previous 12 games, he was averaging 24 a night, dude.
He was on fire. It was 30 every night.
Okay, so let's not act like Ant's not still showing signs of Ant. The problem for me is that Ant's just being asked to be something I don't think he is. I think he needs to be a score first mentality, distribute second. Yes. He's trying to distribute first, and he's not really distributing. And then that hurts his offense. But when he's aggressive offensively, that's when he shines. So there's a weird balance there where Scoot comes in and Scoot's looking to distribute first, et cetera, et cetera. I don't believe they can start together, but I still think a world exists where the right combination in your backcourt of three people playing, that could include Sharp, is workable, but it means Ant or Scoot has to come off the bench, which Ant's not going to want to do. And at some point, Scoot's not going to want to do. And if Scoot keeps playing the way he's playing, then at some point you can make the argument that it's not fair to him. But that being said, Scoot is extremely up and down. It's not like Scoot, Scoot had here's something crazy. The Blazers are 0-5 when Scoot scores 30 points. I'm not blaming him at all for that. But, he's extremely streaky, extremely up and down. He's not, I don't believe, a winning starting point guard yet, but he's definitely gotten a ton better, and that's great to see. But, Ant has 1 year left on his deal. I agree with you that they have to move him because the problem is if you keep him, you're paying him 30 plus. Well, you're giving him, huh? And
you'd get nothing in return for him because he just walk away after his contract's up if you don't trade him.
Yeah. Right. So do you want to give him 5 years, $175 million?
No. I mean, to me, it doesn't. None of this is disrespect to Simons. It just this is what you did. This is what you did. You had 2 lottery picks while you had already many guards, and you picked guards, including your best players at were guards. So you had Dame and you had Simons, and you picked Sharp, and at one point you had CJ. But you picked Sharp, and then you picked Scoot. You did this. So you can't play 3 guards in a starting lineup. You just can't, especially when they don't mesh. Look, I don't even know if Scoot and Sharp mesh yet. But you got to. That's what you invested in, and that's what you got to go with. And you can't let Simons walk and get no value because he's not going to take you. You did all this to quote unquote go all in and win a title rather than continue to just make the playoffs every year for a decade because that wasn't good enough, right? That was the decision you made. I'm not making this up. Like, it's not me. I'm like, now fans, it's like how quickly people forget. They're like, I just want to be competitive. Well, they threw that out. They were plenty competitive. And as you mentioned last time, if you didn't trade Dame and you just got these parts, you might be competing for, top 3 seed in the West, like who knows? But you said, nope, we don't have it with Dame. We're going to start over with this, get young stars so that we can get to a place where we can win a championship and not just be playing for a top 5 seed every year and hope. Well, that means Simon's got to go because you drafted the point guard that either he takes you there or you have to draft another one. Because Simons is not like he's not an all-NBA player like Worry anymore. You're not trading away Dame. So clear the runway and go. Because if this, I believe now more than I'm where you were last year. This team, if Grant's healthy, Simons is healthy, Ayton is healthy, and you play them decent starter minutes, and you mix in Sharp, Kamani, Klingon even, and Deni, you're going to be close to mediocre. You know what I mean? You're going to make the play-in for sure, and you might get 8 or 9, but you're not going to be close to being a contender. So if Scoot can take a huge jump and Sharp can take a huge jump, and I don't know if they're gonna, but that's it. That's what those are your cards. You're playing poker, and you got the 10, the jack, the king, and the ace. And you got to go play and hope to get the queen. Like, you need one of these guys to be that guaranteed winning card, which is Scoot or Sharp become an all-star caliber player, right? I mean, that's it. Or get lucky with whoever you draft this year.
All right. Let's shift to your boy.
Deni.
Go ahead. I'll give you the floor.
Come on. He is the catalyst on this team to be, in general, when they are rolling or playing well, it's because he's the best player on the floor for them. And I know you're going to go through what he averages and all that, blah, blah, blah.
I'm looking right now. But when they're playing great, he's throwing 30 at you. He's getting 12 rebounds. He's getting 8 assists. He's playing good D. He's getting, he's doing the old wrestling thing in front of your face. What is that? You can't see me. John Cena, you can't see me.
John Cena. Not Cena, right? Cena, like, we both know nothing about wrestling. That's what we just proved.
Cena.
I'm just saying, like, it's happy time when he's rolling. I mean, he hit that huge 3, should have been a 4-point play. He had the game winner for 3 points, for a whole time out there. He had the game winning N1, which is, just brilliant.
You want to talk about his turnovers or not?
Well, I mean, sure. You want to talk about turnovers? I'm not saying he's an all NBA player.
He has 13 in the last 2 games.
Yeah.
13.
That's too many. How many turnovers did they end up having last night? It was ridiculous.
They had 25 last night.
I'm just saying, like, everyone contributed there. So that was awful. I mean, at one point, no one wanted to win, and they just kept turning it over and over and over. But look, Tumani is the talk of the town and the talk of the NBA when it comes to the Blazers, just because of his defensive prowess, and it's impressive and it's great, and I'm not downplaying that. But I'm like, if you walk out, the best thing after Tumani, in my opinion, is Deni is a legit starter. A legit starter with still more upside, in my opinion. You can see his confidence, and his teammates love him and believe in him. And if you want to poo-poo on that, well, you go ahead, because it will not hurt my feelings that you're wrong.
Okay, you done? Are you done?
What? Yeah,
I'm done.
I'm done. But I'm just saying. And let's just tell the people, like, Aaron, every time I send him something, like, he writes back something negative about Deni.
No, it's not negative. It's just to put you in check.
That's all right. But let's talk about Scoot's fourth quarter.
Wait, no, I think that's Deni. Oh, no, I got some Deni things
you're going
to
to say something nice?
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, listen, Deni's money. There's no denying that. He just needs to become more consistent. And he needs to cut back on the turnovers, clearly.
We all do. We all do.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think he's going – if you're one of your starting fours, you're in good shape. I don't buy he's going to become an all-star or anything like that. But I do think that it was a good get. And he brings a type of attitude and aggressive play that this team needs. It needs some toot. It's needed some toot since Dame left. Even they needed more toot with Dame. So yeah, we just gotta see. I just gotta see more consistency. 30. He scored 30. Then he scored 9. Then he scored 12. But he did get hurt in that game. Then it comes back 34-27. But you go back 5, 18, 15. The turnovers are crazy. Just had another stretch here. We scored 24. Then 6, 9, 8, 16, 14. But if he can become more consistent and get to the point where he's 19, 7, and 5 and with fewer turnovers and playing good defense, then I think he can have an impact on winning, but playing around a good star. But yeah, I like him. I'm not trying to really ram.
I understand. Like when
people say he's the best player on the team, that worries me, because if he's your best player, you have a ceiling that's very, very low. That's all.
He has been the best player on the floor for them a lot, especially in the second half. And that's and look, when the team is better, I think he doesn't even have to average 19. I think he can average 15. Get you 10 rebounds and 6 assists, and that's huge. Because got to tell you, that's better than Jeremy Grant's overall numbers most of his career. Because we know he doesn't rebound.
Yeah,
and we know defensively he's a monster. And the two, you talk about the attitude, he's got that too. So I don't think he has to. I mean, is there potential? I mean, my whole thing. You're going to score 100 points in the NBA. Somebody's going to get 20. No matter how bad you are. And on bad teams, players can average more points because they're one of the better players on a bad team. So, and it's why we scoff somewhat when Scoot's career high is 39 in a game they lost by like 16 points. Like, that doesn't mean the same to me as what the 30 last night meant, especially that fourth quarter, when they were competing and guarding and caring that he scored. I just think that in the beginning of the year, we were wondering if Deni was going to could he be a consistent, contributor on a winning team? Could he be a starter? And now I think he's answered that. The answer is yes. And with that contract, his value is huge. And there's no doubt that both you and I right now agree we'd rather see Deni play than Grant play. And there's no way you would have agreed to that in the beginning of the season because of the evidence. No. Right? So that to me says something. I always wanted Deni to play, but that's, because, I'm a fanboy there, so, but I mean? So that's something. That is something. Like, you came in and said, oh, no, Grant's could be better. There's no doubt. Like, look at the track records. He scored those points on a bad team. He's not a consistent shooter. We don't know. And obviously, why is Washington giving up on a lottery pick, for 2 first-round picks if they thought he was so great? That's the evidence. And now you're like, oh, I would not want to see Grant play. compared to Deni.
But that's more because Grant has fallen off.
True. I'm just saying though, but that is something.
Deni's shooting numbers are below last year's, so his shooting has fallen off.
Yeah, he shot like ridiculous compared to the year before. He shot like almost 40%. Right?
His assists are down, his rebounds are down, but he's only playing one fewer minute. So his numbers really are actually the same or down in most cases. But
but they won some games. Like in last year, his team didn't. Last year, his team was terrible.
You were just talking about the comparison. The big thing for me is that Grant's just been bad.
Well,
not
and
that
Deni's
been. Okay, I don't think Deni's better this year than Grant has been when Grant is on. That's all I'm saying.
Okay,
but moving forward, given their age difference in a contract, I think Deni and Tumani are the starters, which is why you got to get Grant off your roster next season, which I don't know if they're going to be able to do. Anyway, whatever. As far as Scoot was great. 10 points through 3 quarters. Fourth quarter had 18. They were going to him. He played 12 minutes in the fourth quarter. Ant didn't even play 6 because he was struggling, which was clear that Chauncey wanted to go with Scoot running the team. He got to the basket. He made shots. He had a key step back 3. He hit free throws. Wow, he was great in that fourth. Overtime, he only had 2 points in overtime. The team shot 3 of 14. They didn't play very well in that overtime. Still had a chance to win it. But I asked him after the game. I don't know if you heard the exchange or not, but first thing I asked him was about his confidence in those moments. Like that this was the most opportunities you've had in a tight game where you had the ball in your hands to make plays. And he said he felt super confident, no nerves, no questioning his abilities or anything, which, I didn't think he was going to say, oh, yeah, man, I was scared. But I just wanted to hear him just say, how confident he was. And then I said, given your youth. Oh, my God, what was the question? I can't remember what the question was. Maybe it was linked to the first question. I'm trying to blank on it. But anyway, he said, I don't know about youth. I'm 21. I'm a grown man. And then he laughed. He goes, I'm just messing with you. I'm like, you just turned 21. But yeah, it was funny because when people turn 21, they're like, oh yeah, I'm 21 now. And they look at themselves when they were 20, 19, 18, 17. They're like, I'm a grown man. But people my age and your age, we look at a 21, we're like, he's a kid because he is a kid. And when he's 28 and looks back at 21, he'll be like, oh yeah, I was a kid. But anyway, it was a good moment for him, a good development moment because he was being asked to do a lot of things and being asked to do a lot of things against a really good defensive team coached by a defensive, guru who used to coach my Bulls. And they could not keep in front of him. He was getting by people, getting to the rim, getting to the lane. He had that spin move where he had several Knicks like spinning like a top.
I'm going back on the bench. I'm dizzy.
It was pretty interesting to see him in that position. Now we've seen him in that position before, but most of his career has been played when games didn't matter, like all last year. He had 30 points 3 times last year, but they were January, February, and April. Well, they were meaningless 30-point games, and they were all losses. But this is where they're playing for something. I know you say they're out, but still, the players believe they're in it, and they definitely needed that win last night that they didn't get. So to see him perform like that in the fourth quarter of a tight game with something to play for and against a legitimate Eastern Conference power, I thought was rather impressive.
I thought it was the best quarter of basketball he's played in the pros.
Everything. Yeah.
I mean, I think the first, second, and third quarter and overtime, they were different. Scoot. I think he was kind of not good in the fourth. I mean, in the overtime, but the fourth quarter, I just thought he was brilliant and the confidence was there. He went strong to the hole.
He was 6 of 7 from the field too.
And he hasn't taken a lot of clutch free throws. He's a really good free throw shooter, but really good free throw shooters miss free throws. LeBron's the guy who's a really good free throw shooter, but he's missed some, like in the clutch. It's not the same. He hasn't done that with a crowd that was kind of jumping, and there are a lot of Knicks fans there. So it wasn't like a perfect just home atmosphere, and he nailed them. And they weren't he just hit net on every single one of them, and that shows something to me. But what I really loved on that one drive where he kind of cuffed it He like cuffed the ball a little bit and then came up. Really enjoyed that. He had a dunk in that game, which wasn't in the fourth quarter. I think that was in the first half where he, came through 2-hand dunk. And that was really aggressive. We have not seen a lot of Scoot dunks. And when we have seen them, they've been more CJ dunks than like young Dame dunks, where, that's a dunk, but that wasn't like, oof. And this was like an aggressive dunk. When he got the N1, he had the tongue out and was showing that emotion. That's what you want to see. But yeah, I'm not one to go. If you do what you do, which is go and look at the numbers, his statistics aren't jumping off the page, even with this good run, other than shooting, he's shooting at 38% around from three, which obviously is a huge improvement.
That's amazing.
But no, I know. But I mean, that improvement's great.
He's 37 now on the season, which is
37 because he's dropped off a little, which would be fine. It's just that we don't know. He did bank one in. But whatever. Shooters get the rules. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm like, it doesn't change my entire opinion on him. Like, oh, the sky's the limit. It's still like, well, the sky was the limit. We have not seen what we'd want to, but lately we've seen it's so much better than it was in the beginning. Right. I worry about his handle a little bit, which is odd because I was watching a lot and, OG and obviously one of the best on-ball defender, well, one of the best defenders, but really good on-ball defender. And there were a lot of times where that ball got touched and a few lucky bounces, few unlucky bounces, and he could do a lot with the basketball. And that made me feel like, well, he could get better at that, which is good because that's where he's going to be able to do things that he already does well and do it really well. Right. Like if you watch Kyrie and his handle, I mean, not now with the leg, but it's crazy. It's like the ball never feels out of control. And with Scoot, like last night, he almost lost the ball a few times. And even on some things that worked, you're like, oh, that slipped. And he's lucky it came back. And so I'm excited to see what a confident Scoot can look like. And maybe we haven't seen like the consistent confidence in all elements. And so I hope that the fourth quarter resonates more than the overtime because he had to be tired.
Oh, yeah.
I know he's young and all that, but I mean, 37 minutes in a back and forth game against really good defenders. I mean, you got Hart, you got OG, you got Bridges. The thing that's interesting about that, if Brunson was playing, he would have had the worst defender on him. It would have been Brunson. They might have switched off because they could do that. But you know what I mean? Like Brunson not being in the game hurt the Knicks on offense and the continuity of it. But it didn't mean like, oh, Scoot on offense wouldn't have been the same. No, those guys that guarded him are better than Brunson is on D. Now they might have been down 20, so there might have been that. But best quarter he's played in the NBA. Really enjoyed watching it, even if it was against my Knicks.
I agree. All right. Well, we got Toronto on Sunday. Then they got back-to-back with Washington and I think Memphis. So yeah, those when we come back, we'll come back after that back-to-back, and the Blazers will be.
Yes. No. Sunday's Toronto. Monday's Washington. Wednesday's Memphis.
Yeah, that's what I said. No.
Did you? Okay. Well, then maybe I should listen to you more.
I can't remember. Anyway. I knew it was that because I know Sunday's Toronto. But we're going to come back from that, and I think they're going to be down to 3 back. So
we will see.
It's going to be on like Donkey Kong, baby. All right, that's it for the Blazer Focus podcast. I'm Aaron Fentress. He's Craig Birnbach. I'm keeping hope alive because I need it. I need to be able to have something to get me pumped up. First time in a long time. Craig's a funny daddy. Plus, he's got his Knicks he can latch on to, so he's happy. All right, we'll catch you guys next time.
Don't have my Giants. I don't have my Yankees right now, so I